Boy, it sure is a real good thing that Echoes of Wisdom isn't out until Thursday, huh?
Oh, yeah, we're recording this on Tuesday, before Thursday, and therefore Echoes of Wisdom isn't out, and that sure is a good thing. Because it would be hellish to try and tear ourselves away from a new Zelda game.
Nightmarish, even.
You know, because we're such massive nerds.
We are massive nerds, massive Zelda nerds. Like, I've got 2 Zelda tattoos. One of them's disguised as a Star Wars tattoo, but they are both definitely Zelda tattoos.
Right, well, very convenient in that case that Zelda is not out yet then at the time that we record this podcast.
So very convenient.
And we definitely don't have it.
So very convenient. Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Magnet Dale.
And I'm not Jane Aerith Magnet Dale. And welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. It's a podcast, 2 queer trans women, blah, blah, blah. You know the stuff. We talk about things we don't know the week.
Anyway, thanks for listening. It was lovely to see you again. See you next week.
I wasn't going to speedrun it quite that fast.
You've been playing the Plucky Squire. You finished the Plucky Squire on stream, no less.
Yeah, I played through start to finish the Plucky Squire this
week. And almost a Zelda game.
Very much a Zelda game. I might have talked about this last week, or did it come out, just after last week's episode?
Can't remember
now. The Plucky Squire. It is a game where part of it is top-down, cartoon, picture book style, 2D Zelda. Part of it is you're out in a 3D space. You're doing your Zelda, you're off to go fight your Ganondorf equivalent, and you reach him and he's like, hey, I found a copy of the book we're in the book we're in, and I read ahead, and I lose, and I don't like that, so I learnt magic to push you out of the book so you can't stop me, which means you as the hero can now jump in and out of the book, and swap between 2D top-down Zelda and 3D action Zelda on the desk of the little boy who owns the book.
Shit, you're like Bill Cipher, you've discovered the third dimension.
I've discovered the third dimension and I will use it to my benefit for such things as, this rock is too heavy for me to push, I'll hop out the book, lift one of the pages of the book up 90 degrees and now the rock will slide down because gravity is acting on it in the wrong dimension.
Handy.
And then hop back in. Or I've become aware of the nature of the book, so maybe I'll take a word out of a sentence and swap it for a word from a different sentence, a little bit Barbara as you, but just slightly more approachable, slightly less brain-breaky than Barbara as you was. And a whole bunch of other mechanics I won't ruin, because that's a lot of the fun, is discovering these things as you go.
Yeah, I've only seen, the trailers and things from a while ago, I've not watched any of the more recent ones. I watched you streaming the other night, and I did not recognise anything that was happening.
Yeah. So, one example I can give that was in some of the early trailers is, early on you do Punch-Out, but with a honey badger. That's pretty fun. If you were watching me toward the end of that game, you might have seen a supercut of me doing all the weird other mechanics that game
I saw something that looked like Punch-Out, something that looked like Space Harrier. I was like, okay, sure.
Yeah, there was a bit where it was bubble bobble magic duels,
beep,
and
beep, beep, beep.
There's all sorts of very creative mechanics in there. I am honestly very impressed with its density of, here's a new idea, throw it away, here's another new idea, throw that away, we've got another new one. That it has. It's maybe 8 to 10 hours long, and I could nitpick some little things about the design. My big thing is in the 3D space early on, there are some stealth sections where you're trying to avoid these beetles on the desk, and they move in unpredictable, erratic patterns because they're beetles, and yes, that's very realistic, but it makes it really hard to work out a pattern to successfully sneak past them in. Not such a fan of that. But if that's my biggest complaint in this game, I think it's done very well. Beautifully filled the time between Astrobot and Echoes of Wisdom as I'm looking for something charming and wholesome and colourful and just makes me feel happy in the way that Astrobot did, but that is scratching that Zelda itch while I wait for new Zelda. This was a perfect bridge between those two games. It sat perfectly in the middle as a beautiful complement to both. I had a lovely time. I finished a 10-hour playthrough and then streamed it on stream, and had just as much fun streaming it on stream as I had playing it through that I just finished.
Excellent.
It's delightful.
Yay.
It's charming. I've seen some people being like, it's not as challenging or as difficult as I'd like, and I'm like, That's not what I'm coming to this game for. I'm coming to this game for
I wish to be charmed.
soft, gentle comfort food gaming. I just want a nice soft time where everything is very wholesome, and this was that. And also there's a drum and bass wizard, and therefore it's great.
Excellent.
More
More games need a drum and bass wizard.
The Plucky Squire is wonderful, with the caveat I've heard the Switch performance isn't great, ideally. It's fine in the 2D sections, the 3D sections, the Switch kind of struggles with a little bit, which is a shame. I can attest it runs great on the Steam Deck, so that's an option. It runs well on the console, or the other consoles, so...
Excellent.
What about you? What you been playing this week?
I started playing Age of Mythology Retold.
Oh, the remake that's just come out recently.
Yeah, Age of Mythology was a game I enjoyed a long time ago. Yeah, I liked a lot of things in that engine. Like, I played Age of Empires 2,
Yes.
which I was introduced to by friends, and it was one of those sort of just chill out, get baked,
Yes.
and command the forces of wherever we were commanding the forces of. I don't really remember.
And Age of Mythology is that, but also there's supernaturally elements to it.
Yeah, and the other one was Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds, which is literally a palette swap of Age of Empires 2. I am enjoying Age of Mythology. There is so little done to it. I'm in my mind, in the memories of long past.
Yeah.
There is so little done to it that it's like, it's always looked like this, right? Right.
Yeah, the I know it couldn't have looked like this, but it's captured the feeling of what it feels like it looked like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am enjoying playing through it again. I have thought a few times about trying to get it running again. Now there is this version. It's on Game Pass. Woo. Woo. It's Age of Mythology. It's strategy, light RTS, in the age of Greek mythology. Yeah, it's a fun time. I don't really know what else to say. It's exactly what it was 15 years ago.
Sometimes you play a game and it's like, it sure is the game that it is.
It sure is the same game it was 15 years ago. So if you've wanted an excuse to replay Age of Mythology, ta-da! It's weird, because I feel like Age of Empires 2 has been like re-released and re-released and re-released. Because it had an HD, I think a second HD, and then it had a remake.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Talk about games really. That feels like a real Electronic Executive Works job. Sorry, Supremacy Software.
Supremacy Software, legally distinct. Definitely
Legally
not.
distinct.
Legally distinct.
You didn't hear anything, the publisher.
You heard nothing.
What about you? What have you been playing?
We played through a thing together at the weekend.
We did.
We played through Sam and Max.
Sam and Max Hit the Road, to be precise.
Sam and Max Hit the Road, yeah, which is a point-and-click adventure game. How would I describe Sam and Max?
They are an anthropomorphic dog and a sort of anthropomorphic bunny.
Yeah, the dog is the like sensible detective of the pair.
Yeah.
And the bunny is the ADHD chaos gremlin to play off of the sort of straight man of the dog.
Yes, also extraordinarily violent.
Extraordinarily violent. But like in a way where you're like, oh, that's kind of charming.
Yes.
I can't not love you.
ACAB does include Sam and Max.
I would hesitate to call Max a cop. I think Max does a lot of things that cops would not approve of.
Or they would, and he just says the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, maybe.
But in the realm of just a silly time where you don't think about it too much.
Yeah.
What did you think of Sam and Max? You played this before,
I played this years and years ago. I would say it's probably been coming up on 20 years since I've played it. It's been a while. Some of the logic is a little bit okay, sure. Okay, sure. Okay, sure. You know, some of it's not even frustrating weird logic. It's just I'm baffled that no one pointed this to you. There's an example late on in the game where you need some tar, and you walk past a swimming pool full of tar. No, that tar's not acceptable. You can't just reach over there and get that tar. You've got to do a far more elaborate thing to get the tar.
Yeah, more importantly, it's the whole, oh, I can't do that.
Yeah, I've got to do something way less sensible.
Yes.
And I love the way less sensible thing, but it's like, why did you make such an obvious, accessible way only to say no to it?
It feels like it would
on
have been
the walk
really
there?
easy to just say, I can't reach it from here.
Yeah, like, there's ways you could have made sense, and they just didn't.
Yeah.
My only other real takeaway of it is I think a lot of the game has aged very well and is still very amusing and well thought through. I couldn't help but be a little bit mixed about the end, some of the characterization toward the end. So
Yes.
a big part of the game is Bigfoot Yeti.
Bigfoots are disappearing
Yes.
from their various tourist traps.
And you end up encountering a lot of them, and the way that they are depicted, or at the very least that their chief or leader is depicted, definitely leans on some
Native American stereotypes.
Native American stereotypes of how people think of the weird bits of Africa where people do magic ritual stuff. It's got, like, there are points where Sam and Max refer to them as savages.
Savages, primitives.
Yeah, that, like, when you are on a quest to do a ritual for them, it's definitely pulling on some tropes in ways that feel a bit uncomfortable.
Yes. There's also a few terms that I noticed in this that wouldn't have thought of when I originally played it, but certainly now just go, oh dear.
It's not so... There was nothing so bad that I go, that is definitively a problem, and, like,
There's a couple of slurs in there.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, sorry. Let me rephrase. In terms of the general tone of how the Yetis were depicted, I'm like, there's nothing in that I can point to and go, that is the thing that's the problem.
Yeah.
Like, that thing is definitively a problem, and I can point at that.
Yes.
It is just a lot of mounting things about the way that they are portrayed and acted that is like, it feels a bit... This was definitely a game made many years ago,
Yeah,
and
in the 90s.
you can feel it.
Yeah.
You can feel that these are choices that would not have been made today.
I feel like language used and depictions of certain characters.
Yeah.
This is probably the one that's aged the worst of the ones we've played, replayed through most recently.
Yeah.
I feel like Monkey Island avoids a lot of that stuff, even with the vegetarian cannibals.
Yeah, it's not as bad as it could be.
Yeah.
It's certainly not as bad as I sometimes fear these kinds of games will be when I come back to them.
Yeah.
If this is the worst it is coming back to it, I'm like, I expected worse would come up at some point replaying these, but yeah. That aside, and a couple of bits of silly logic aside, I really enjoy Sam and Max's characters.
It's very silly.
Their banter's very good.
Yes.
I do enjoy trying to take an object that I can't take over and over and over and over until Sam
starts crying.
starts having a
and
little
Max
bit of a breakdown.
starts having a go at you for
Yeah,
abusing Sam.
I do deserve having the go taken off me, but I like that the game was ready for that.
I've never seen that string of text before. There was a number of times you were doing stuff and I was like, I swear I've never had this conversation in this game.
Well, I mean, that's a good thing to be able to find new stuff in a thing from that long ago.
It's the joy of, playing through it with someone else.
Yeah.
Especially when I can do things like point you in the direction of things that are a little bit bullshit.
Yes.
But I feel like ScumVM might have had some enhancements made to it that have corrected some of the more problematic things, because I feel like the last time I tried to play through this, the VR section was much more prone to just completely fucking you over.
Yeah.
And this time I was like, oh, we'll save here, and we'll save again here,
and I did it on the first try.
And you did it immediately. It was like, oh, okay.
Maybe ScumVM updated stuff, maybe I just lucked out.
Maybe, but yeah. Yeah, apart from some of the words used to describe Conroy bumpers, and slipping of that word formerly used to describe Canadian native persons.
Yes.
And the distinct lack of actually black characters in that game.
Yeah. Those things aside, very much enjoyed revisiting it.
Yes.
Also, on that note, very briefly, just as a side topic, We talked a little while ago about Chris Grace and Scarlett Johansson on Dropout recently.
Oh, yes.
So, in that, they use that same term for Canadian native people from Canada. Gets used during that special, and it was used during another thing that same week on Dropout. I respect that Dropout acknowledged that happened and was like, we recognise the problem, we will ensure it does not happen in future, here is a donation we are making to an appropriate charity, we recognise the issue involved and will strive to do better. And I'm like, cool, hands up apology and we recognise the problem, we'll do better.
And Chris also separately apologised to that as well.
I am very willing to be forgiving of stuff like that when the people involved are just like, we acknowledge that sometimes, we're a group of people, we fuck up sometimes, we'll do better. Here's something tangible we'll do to apologise.
Yeah, I get that it's not for us to accept that apology, but I think it is good to see that sort of positive, direct, immediate action being done when you're called out, rather than going, they didn't say anything for like a couple of weeks, and then when they couldn't put it off anymore, then they did something that was a bit vague and non-apology.
As you say, not our place to accept that apology, but it's the same way they responded when an episode of Actually you had a joke, a question about Harry Potter, and people pointed that out, and they responded very, very similarly, and as someone that is in like the group kind of impacted there, I appreciated that approach, and I'm appreciating seeing an approach that I thought worked well offered to other groups. That is continuing. But did you play anything else this week?
Well,
is it time?
we've been playing Echoes of Wisdom.
We have. We've played about 4 hours of Echoes of Wisdom.
Thereabouts,
somewhere in the region, maybe a little under, but about 4 hours. How are you finding New Zelda so far?
I'm enjoying it. It's very cute.
It is very cute.
So first of all, obviously we've got the graphic style from the remake of Link's Awakening, which is absolutely adorable, and I'm totally here for it.
Yeah.
We have a lot more like physical ability. Like when you first start the game, like your opening scene, you are briefly playing as Link. You have a jump.
Yes.
You have sword swing, you have bow, you have bombs. When you do get to playing as Zelda, you still have a jump, which feels pretty special.
Like that jump
in a 2D Zelda.
To have a jump that isn't an item taking up a slot, I can just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are in the like tutorial mission, I think, does a really good job of taking you through the area and explaining things to you. I think that it's generally does like a really good job with like teaching you things. Like, okay, here is an ability you're going to get. Here is a thing you need to do. Here is a different way of using that ability.
Yeah.
And then okay, maybe here is like a boss or a mini boss or a puzzle or just a sealed room. You are going to have to work out what the solution is.
Yes.
You can do it. I believe in you.
I like that the introductory, like, I'm going to say hour and a half, maybe a little longer of this game, it does a good job of, like, slowly widening itself out in terms of scope.
Yes.
It starts very linear, and I think that is to its benefit in terms of, like, the echo...
Learn the controls.
Yeah. The echo ability, the ability to summon in copies of things you found in the world, is, I think, really well implemented. I'm enjoying it a lot so far, but I can see how if you were given too much free reign too quickly, it could be a lot. And it gives you just enough time, linear on the rails, to sort of, like, get to grips with some basics of, like, here's a monster I can attack with, here's a few things that can get me up and about and around the world. Then it sort of funnels out a little bit to go, we're not going full open world yet, we're just, like, spreading out a bit so you can stretch your legs and explore. Here's a dungeon. The dungeons are... It's
a good-sized dungeon.
That first dungeon's sizable, and it's a proper 2D Zelda dungeon.
Yes.
With your keys and locks and your multiple floors.
Locks, and then, like, stuff that you can only get to using your echoes.
Yep.
Stuff to puzzle around with that. I have got to what I think is heading towards a second dungeon. And the only complaint I've had about with that so far is, I saw this bit in the trailer. I know exactly how to solve this puzzle.
Well, yeah, that'll be a thing occasionally with the game.
I don't imagine it's going to come up much more, because I feel like a lot of those trailers and the preview stuff we saw were hey, here is like the first moments of getting out of prison.
Yeah, it really feels like they kept the like preview coverage and trailers and stuff largely to that first hour and a half. Maybe a little bit of once you first start like branching out from there.
Yeah.
But yes, it's really refreshing to go back to having like a really satisfying authored Zelda dungeon, like a traditional ass Zelda dungeon.
Really interesting maps as well.
Yeah.
Like, here is a ladder. Cool. We're going to show you like lines going to, rather than just going, oh yeah, like you press like L and R to flick between the different like map levels.
Yeah.
With this, it's just like, hey, you're going to see exactly where everything links together, and maybe you don't need to worry about whether or not you can get to like this thing on the other side of the level that's too high up, because you realise looking at the map, I'm going to be coming back in here at some other point along this route. I guess that's probably going to take me in at a higher point.
Yeah, it's a good communicative map.
There's also a lot of really nice warp points.
There's like save points that are fast travel points spread throughout the dungeon, so like if you look at the map and realise you missed a collectible or something somewhere, you can conveniently hop back around.
Yeah.
I really liked that dungeon. I was curious how authored feeling a dungeon you could have when so many of your tools are things that are depending on what you happen to have found. But they've done a good job of like, if other dungeons later do the same formula, what they seemed to do was introduce new echoes you hadn't found outside of that dungeon that will be useful within that dungeon that you can then go use in other places. But like, this dungeon has given you this echo that this dungeon will make good use of. And I'm like, that's a nice approach.
I think some of it helps that some of the stuff you're getting is basically an iteration on a previous thing.
Yeah.
Like at one point you'll find a very basic pot.
Yeah.
Then you'll find a slightly different pot. Then you'll find a really big pot.
Yeah.
You'll find a bed quite early on. I found like a different bed later on. That like one of the things with the bed is like when you drop it down, you can just rest in it and regain your hearts as long as you're not in combat. And the soft bed lets you regain hearts quicker.
Yeah.
So I think by virtue of the fact that some of it is a little bit iterative, means that it's not going to matter too much that you are getting like still getting new stuff.
Yeah.
But from what you said about the rumour that this had originally come from a Zelda maker...
not a rumour, confirmed thing. There was an interview today, apparently, where they talked about this started as a Zelda dungeon maker and then sort of warped into being its own thing.
Yeah, you can see that whole concept of, oh yeah, I could just put things in. And
you can feel that DNA, yeah.
Yeah, you can. I love that. But yeah, it's nice to have a 2D Zelda that's got some like dimensionality to it in a 3D that's intentional rather than just breaking the game.
And the thing that's nice is we both completed that first dungeon, and we've gotten to the point where like, okay, it's like your training wheels are off. We've opened up the world a bit. I was surprised at quite how much it was like, no, it's open. Just go find stuff. And you could just ignore the intended path and just go find things to do. And I like that. I think that so far this is really striking that balance nicely between wanting you to have like a big open thing that you can explore at your leisure. You can choose what you're interested in and what you're going to go find. But with having little pockets of authored, tailored content.
Yeah.
And feeling like it really gets that balance of, hey, if you go to a place where there's like a plot thing to do, it's gonna feel like traditional Zelda. But if you go out into the big field, you can just find a cool looking thing on the map and go see what that is and go do stuff. Yeah,
I think the only thing I would say against that so far is I did encounter one area where I wandered in, I like took a long looping route around this like mini area. Got to this thing, I was like, oh, there's 2 torches to light. I will light the 2 torches. And I lit the 2 torches and nothing happened. I was like, oh, okay. Maybe this isn't something, maybe this is something else. And then like 5 minutes later I was like pointed, hey, can you go and do this thing over there? And I ran in there and then someone was like, hey, we need to light the torches.
Okay.
Cool, I'll go and light the torches.
I've yet to encounter any of that, but I can see it. But yeah, I am really loving it so far.
Yeah. The other thing I quickly want to say about really liking it is The number of quests I'm picking up.
Yes.
Like, just random people just going, hey, I've got a quest. Hey, could you do something for me? I really want to see a tumbleweed. Could you bring me a tumbleweed?
Yep, yeah.
Like, the number of that feels very like Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild.
Yes.
Which I appreciate.
Agreed. My other thing I was going to throw in is I'm enjoying the combat style more than I expected to. This is like something that like I have my thoughts about grumble, why are you allergic to letting Zelda attack anything directly? It feels weird how opposed to it you are. But at that time, I was also like, yeah, but I can see the reasoning, though, of, like, you know, being a princess and, like, sending out your little army to fight for you. And that is how it feels in practice. That has been the feeling, is like, hello, send out my little minions. You go fight for me. You go fight for me. And I'm having fun with it.
Link Ghost that you wear when you want to wield the sword does kind of still have, like, Zelda's little circlet on, and it does... I can squint a bit and say it's her.
I disagree. To me, it still feels a bit like, why did this have to be? Like,
I agree.
Like, I'm of the belief if Zelda had started, like, use the power, starts glowing blue, but still looked like Zelda, I'd have been 1,000% more okay with that mechanic.
If she'd, like, done a little spinny and turned into Shake with the sword.
Yeah, right. But I'm not going to let myself get bent out of shape over that, in that I really like having my... Someone, like, yesterday, someone described this as, are they putting Pokemon into Zelda with this mechanic? And as soon as someone said it that way, I was like, oh shit, that is kind of what it is, isn't it? And I'm now having fun with my little team of Pokemon. I can
Level 2 Club Moblin, I choose you!
Right! P-Hat, I choose you!
I haven't found the P-Hat yet.
Oh,
I've got a mission to go and get it, but I haven't gone and got it.
It is my favourite thing early in the game to fight with. It's just a spinning blade of doom. It's just like, spin around with
Sounds
blades.
like a P-Hat.
Yeah, I hate fighting P-Hats. I love having a P-Hat to fight with.
P-Hat friend.
Very good for cutting grass. You summon a P-Hat and then, like, bind so that you can control where it is. And then you just run around
like
using it as a lawnmower. It's so fun.
Excellent.
I'm really charmed by this. It feels like it's something special.
Yeah.
It's good to have a new Zelda that feels like it's not ashamed of what classic Zelda games have been, while still having a whole bunch of interesting new ideas and, hey, find your own solution to this.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how it proceeds from here.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can talk to the kitty cats and they'll talk back.
You can. I found like 3 kitty cats.
Yeah. I found a horsey.
You found a horsey?
I found a horsey. I found an adorable little horsey. It's a little chibi horsey.
Is it your horse to ride yet?
I can ride a horsey.
You can ride a horsey?
Yeah. I can't, like, summon it to me, but if I remember where I left it, I can go get my horsey. I've got a little horsey I can ride.
Oh, heck.
Yeah.
I don't have a horsey.
Yeah, but
I'm just Zelda do spinny everywhere.
Zelda do spin... It is really satisfying to pirouette everywhere.
La 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 la. I'm saving the world. Spin, spin.
I really hope this game does well. I'm having so much fun with it. I want this to be its own side series that we get a whole bunch of, because this is great.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have anything else you want to say at this point on Echoes of Wisdom?
That's it for me.
That's it for me as well.
Well then.
Time for this.
You've heard of the Loop earplugs. They block out the aggressive sounds that bother you every day and come with a volume control just for the real world. From Loop comes the new Snoot Loop. It's like an EQ for filtering out smells. Stuck on a train with someone eating fried chicken that you can't manage? Or citrus fruit that you find really damages your autistic brain?
Perhaps 3 oranges in a row?
What kind of fiend would eat 3 oranges in a row near someone who's really struggling with that? Snoot Loop would have saved you in that hypothetical situation. Snoot Loop from Loop. It's like a loop for your snoot.
Oh, Try. Thank you so much for giving me this Tri-Rod. This magic has been so helpful on my adventure.
I'm so glad I could help you.
Being able to summon every object I need to go on my quest is so convenient.
I'm sorry, what?
Being able to summon out of thin air, craft out of magical energy, the items...
No, that's not how that works at all.
What?
It's transference. You're transferring. It's teleportation.
Wait. So when there wasn't a bridge and I used like 6 beds to cross the gap.
Yes, those beds will have come from somewhere. Why do you think those moblins look so confused?
Oh no! Oh no! Did a moblin... Was that moblin having dinner or something and now it's here fighting for me?
It might have even been sleeping.
Oh no!
You stole its bed and then you stole it.
Is that why it took a second to warm up and start attacking? It was sleepy and confused. Oh no!
But you were going to save your home country, right? You were going to save all the Hylians. Your people.
I would stop. But Nintendo says I'm not allowed a sword, so,
You tell yourself that. Hey, Laura.
Yes?
Do you sometimes think, oh, new game out?
I do sometimes think, ooh, new game out.
And then you're like, I really like this game.
I do really like games sometimes.
You do really like games.
Maybe
sometimes.
One over there that I'm pointing
Maybe that
at,
one over there. Maybe that one over there.
Yeah.
Nobody else knows.
Sometimes I really like a game and would rather be playing it than doing obligations.
I sometimes new game and would rather be doing it than sleeping or pooping. But those things sometimes need doing.
Unfortunately so.
Sometimes at the same time.
Can't do much about those, but I wish I could do something about the other obligations.
Yeah, like work or social obligations and friends and family and jury duty.
Yeah.
Well, this week's sponsor is new release excusespot.lol.net.
Tell me more.
It'll come up with excuses for work, social obligation, friends and family, and jury duty.
That's all the things that I need to get out of.
Yeah!
All of them. Right, let me type in. Okay, I got work tomorrow, so let's, I need an excuse to not work. Laura is ill with a virus where she can't sit and type at the computer or say words out loud, but that also is too contagious. She can't go to the doctor because it'll be too contagious and the doctor will get ill. So she's going to stay home. That sounds plausible to me.
Real plausible. Oh, I love that it's even got a little reminder telling you to make sure that you sit in offline mode so that you don't pop up to any of your work colleagues.
Oh, genius.
So that's new release excusebot.lol.net. Enter the code Q&PS 322 and you can get a 15% discount off the app. Oh, it's not as an expensive app, but now you can get 15% off. That's real nice.
Yeah.
So, what have you put in your eyes?
Oh, shall we talk about the film we saw together?
Oh, okay. Okay.
We saw a fantastic, if intense, film that I think is great. I wouldn't recommend to everyone, called The Substance. The basic premise is that Demi Moore plays a actress in Hollywood who hosts her own jazzercise show. And she overhears her boss being like, "Hey, we got to fire her. She's too old. We need hot young people in front of the camera."
Yes, the misogyny is
yeah.
strong.
The film makes no attempt to hide its real staring in the face of gross, hypercritical, misogynist douchebag Hollywood men. And feeling pressured, she's going to lose her show and everything, she ends up being given the offer of something called the Substance, which basically you inject yourself with it, a second body forms out of you that is younger, in better shape, in better physical condition, and once a week you have to swap bodies. It's not like a second person, it's you.
All you.
But you swap your consciousness between, to the younger body, and then a week later you swap it back to the older body, back and forth. Whichever body you're not in, you hook it up to an IV of food fluid, and that's the rule. You swap back and forth exactly every week, every single week.
And in order to keep the young body intact, it needs to remove some fluid from the spine of the original,
yes.
and then stabilize yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got stuff about the beauty industry, about the cosmetics industry.
It is a stark look at the ways that Hollywood treats women as they age, and the double standards that men versus women are held to in that regard. The pressure felt to perhaps self-destructively try and stay young forever,
And also just how the cosmetics industry has fucked people up.
Yeah.
That they believe they have to be those things.
And that they can, and that's a sustainable, manageable approach. It looks a lot at, like, the recklessness of youth and knowing the consequences for yourself as you age, but sort of disregarding them. And it's all this tied in with, like, a real Cronenberg-esque body horror.
It gets Cronenbergier the longer it goes on.
Yes, it's like, I would say 75-80% of this is like psychological horror, largely about like the internal struggle and battle and the consequences for the older self. And then like 20-25% it really off the rails body horrors in some in ways that are at times genuinely, I have to brace through my fingers for this, and at times this is so hilariously off the over the top that I can't help but laugh at it.
Yeah.
And it blends those in pretty equal measure.
Yeah. There was a lot of this film that made me feel genuinely very uncomfortable.
Yes, there's a lot of it's a lot of the more grounded body horror where I'm like, oh, that's too real, that's too close to reality. The bits where it like really like it gets to the extremes of body horror, I'm like, oh yeah, that's beyond my frame of reference. That's okay.
Yeah,
but it's the in between. It's the body horror of the mundane that is really viscerally done.
Yeah. Also, like, I generally speaking do not have a problem, like, handling meat for other people. Like, I don't eat myself, that's fine. But, like, I have, like, in recent years cooked people, like, bacon sandwiches.
Yeah.
I've cooked fish for people. Like, and again, not going to eat it myself, but I'm not judging anyone who eats meat or fish or any of that stuff. But it's something to do with the way this is shot and the way it's lit. There was just scenes of people handling chicken in this film that made me genuinely just like,
as someone that still sometimes eats meat, yeah, I was off-put by that meat. It's some of the worst, most off-putting meat that's ever been put to screen.
We've got a hardcore vegan friend that was like, you might enjoy the concept of this film, do not go and see it, you will hate this. They can't even walk down the meat aisle in the supermarket.
It is a fantastic film. 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
Grueling, but like no wasted time in that 2.5 hours. It felt like it was very deliberate in its pacing and its slow build was justified.
Yep.
Fantastic film that is not going to be for everyone.
No.
Like, if mundane, slow decay body horror is rough, if extreme, over-the-top bloodbath body horror is too much, there's going to be points in this film that are going to be tricky. But I'm so glad I saw it.
Yeah.
I think it was...
I'm also glad I went and saw it with you, because I don't think I'd have managed it on my own.
I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad I saw it on a big screen. It's fantastic. It's not an easy recommend.
No.
But
I do.
I do recommend it. I recommend it if you're okay with the caveats. If we've given you all the warnings, if that hasn't put you off, go see it. It's pretty great.
Check it out.
Yeah, what about you? What else are you putting your eyes this week?
I watched the films that made people bisexual.
Yeah?
Yeah. I watched The Mummy and The Mummy Returns.
Oh, yes, those bisexuals.
AKA, don't call it a mum back. I have never seen either of these films before. I think some of the effects hold up pretty well. Some of them aren't lit super well. But, I could see what they've been doing. It had some nice ideas. The person who plays the resurrected mummy guy is, agreed, pretty hot. Most of the cast, pretty hot. Well done. Yes, I can see why so many people became bisexual as a result of this film. Let's be honest though, most of these problems are caused by white people doing white people shit.
Yeah.
That could have been entirely avoided if you'd listened to any of the people who told you not to do white people shit and not go digging around other people's grave sites. Mummy, brackets, the caucasity.
The caucasity indeed.
I don't know what else to say about that. It's an action romp suitable. The second one feels like by introducing their kid was trying to do, hey, bring the kids along. It's almost Indiana Jones, right? Less Nazi punching.
It tried.
Less Nazi punching. And I'd forgotten Omega Lily was in the first one.
Huh.
Yeah. I think I've seen him do stand-up talking about having been in it, but I had forgotten that he did films and not just stand-up. Yeah. The mummies. Ta-da!
Ta-da.
They're alright.
Yeah.
Have you watched anything else?
Not really. It's not been a particularly watch-heavy week. What about you?
I watched one other thing I wanted to mention. I made quite extensive notes.
Yes, you did.
So I watched a Pertwee era Doctor Who episode.
Yeah.
Called Invasion of the Dinosaurs.
There sure was at least one dinosaur that
There
I
were several
got
dinosaurs,
to see.
and they were fantastic, every one of them.
They sure were practical effects dinosaurs of an era.
They sure were some latex, squishy, slightly limp dinosaurs. It's a T-Rex. Piss off. Not a feather in sight, also, because they didn't believe in them. It seemed initially like it was trying to be like, oh, environmental activists, and oh, you're all overreacting. And then eventually it became clear that that's not really what they were trying to say. It turns out that basically there are some eco-fascists who are using a sort of time travel time manipulation technique to bring dinosaurs to London to try and chase most of the populace out of there.
Okay, yeah.
They've also got their 200 people that they're going to save, who they've sent into some Big Brother-esque. You're definitely on a spaceship, but they're all in a bunker somewhere under London. And the plan is basically get most people out of London as far away as possible, so that we don't risk getting any unwanted entities. And then they're going to reset the rest of the world, apart from where these people are, and then they're going to let them out onto the Earth as this sort of untouched thing. And they're like, but it's not a genocide. No, it's not, because they will never have existed. We'll just have undone their past, and therefore that won't have ever happened, and therefore it's fine.
It feels a lot like the fucking Tuvix rationale. It's the no, we're not killing a person, we're just putting it back to the two people that were before. It's that kind of that logic doesn't work, but you're telling yourself so you feel less bad about the bad murder crimes you're doing.
Yes. And there's people in government involved, there's people in unit involved, so obviously everyone's being beset at all sides. And I think it does a good job of keeping tension up in that way, and trying to tell this interesting story. It's about 200 white folk from London. Everyone, they've been convinced they're going to colonise another planet that's quite like Earth.
Yeah.
But not quite. It's fine. It's going to be all a real new world. And at the end, the Doctor basically concludes, it's not the oil or the chemicals or the fumes that are poisoning the Earth, it's greed. I was like, fuck it out. I didn't think we were going to get an actual, important, an attempt at a message at the end of this. Yeah, it is the greed. We probably could have used some of the fossil fuels and some of the other things, but we used them in such quantity by greedy fuckers that it caused all of the problems. It was an interesting episode, and I had thoughts. Really, now I have shared those thoughts.
It really sounds it. Thank you for sharing those thoughts at me.
Yeah. What about you? Have you watched anything else?
Nah, that's it for me, really.
Well then,
time for this.
Inside the boardroom of Supremacy Software.
Hi. So, we got another one of our games getting ported to PC.
Yeah.
And, people are excited for the port. They did complain the last few times that we ported stuff.
Because we optimized it terribly?
Well, I mean, they've come to expect that from PC ports at this point, honestly.
Yeah, they have. We've trained them.
We have indeed, but no. I was more talking about the, how we keep, releasing our PC ports and requiring the use of our proprietary launcher and signing into our proprietary sign-in network.
How else are we going to get all their data that we can sell?
But, there's been the cycle of, we put it out, we do that, and we get review bombed, and we take it out, and then we do another game, and we do that, and people review bomb, and we take it out.
Yeah, and then we tried that thing where it isn't in there at the start, and then we give it a couple of weeks, and then we put it in.
Yeah, but then they review bombed, and then we put it, and we pulled it out. But 3 times the charm.
Yeah.
So in my head, that means it can only go wrong 3 times.
Yeah,
so,
I'm sure they will have just, forgotten at this point.
So I vote, we try it again, 4th time's the one where they don't care. I think this is going to work for us this time.
I think we'll have beaten them into submission by now.
I think they'll have grown to accept this is just the way of the industry when we do it a 4th time. And if not, we'll do it a 5th.
You are a fucking genius.
I know.
Meow, 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 meow. I have made it into the bedroom. Yeah, you go meow, in the bedroom. And the humans are gonna come in and they're gonna go to bed. And we're not allowed in the bedroom while they're sleeping. No. We can sleep in the sunbeams during the day, but no, at night they will not let us in here. But if we sleep under the big cushion in the corner, we hide in there. And then when they go to sleep, as soon as they start snoring, we can go out and have exciting closed bedroom times. Good idea. Oh no. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. I step on their face. Yeah. Let's do it. No. I've still got a bit of cat litter stuck between my toes. Right in the eye. I cannot. No resistance. Oh no, we're being evicted. Oh no.
800 quid to Newcastle.
Fucking hell.
Right? I was like, I just, I've never been to Newcastle. I've had friends tell me that Newcastle's alright. That's where they grew up and, it's a place to go and see.
Yeah.
And the train is supposed to be, an affordable option to go places.
It's supposed to be the option you should be defaulting to for mass transport within the country,
rather than,
right?
Cars or private hires and things like that.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be more environmentally sound, but fuck me, 800 quid to Newcastle. That's not even a return.
Ugh.
I don't even get reserved seating or even guaranteed seating on that.
There's got to be a better way.
There's got to be a better way. I have heard.
Oh? Yeah?
If you go to the ticket barriers...
Right.
And, walk right into the corner at the ticket barriers, right?
Okay.
And then you turn around, yeah?
Yeah.
And you do, like a little lunge forward and jump back.
Okay.
You can clip really hard into them, and you'll just be flung straight up.
Okay.
Right, and then you do this whole other thing involving your bag and your keys. And you try and basically deploy both in opposite directions at the same time. And you'll just be catapulted super fast forward. You obviously have to be really careful about not hitting overhead power lines or anything like that. And if you're going via London, obviously tall buildings have got to be a thing. But you can catapult yourself most of the way past Livingston St Anne's.
Oh.
And then you basically have to do a similar thing again. And you can just essentially just catapult yourself to Newcastle with only a minor risk of serious injury of splatting yourself up against a building. And that feels way less painless than, trying to pay for train tickets in the UK.
I mean, at this point, I'm willing to risk clipping into a floor if it means I can avoid paying train fare. It's a risk I'm willing to take.
Do you know what I want to see more of?
What do you want to see more of?
Social Justice Warriors.
Social Justice Warriors?
Yeah.
All right, Harry.
Right, Barry. How you doing?
Oh, mate, I am despairing at the world again, mate.
Oh, aren't we all? Aren't we all?
You doing all right?
Doing all right,
What you been up to?
Honestly, despairing at the world too, a little bit.
Yeah.
I've been thinking again about. I've been thinking about the death penalty. Not a fun thing to be thinking about.
Yeah.
I have no idea how this is going to play out in the coming days, but today, right now, I've been thinking about the death penalty because there's someone called Marcellus Williams who's on death row who is scheduled for execution, who there has been evidence that suggests he is not guilty of the crime for which he was committed. There's been stuff that's come out about his jury being sort of biased to exclude black jurors. The prosecutor has literally in the last couple of days admitted, no, I didn't exclude black jurors. I excluded jurors who looked too much like they might be his brother. Shit like that, where it's like, no, that's clearly, we can fucking see the dog whistle you're using. But regardless of this, it seems like this man who, at the very least, may not have been given a fair trial, is still being pushed towards a death date.
Yeah, we had some DNA evidence revealed, and that obviously shed some new light on things, and that in turn got the whole thing looked at a bit more seriously in other ways, and there's been that whole aspect, and then the governor basically saying, no, we're not. The death date is set. He's going to be executed, and the American legal system and everyone involved in that already feels like they are basically just there to try and execute black people, and and this it is disgusting that they're not even claiming there's beyond reasonable doubt issues. The family of the person who was murdered has said this actually this is not reasonable to us. Please.
You hear this a lot. You hear from families of victims of murder who say, like, the killer, even in cases where they believe the person is guilty, they say, killing that person isn't going to bring us closure. That's not, it's not the path forward to us healing.
I don't know if they were saying that before the DNA evidence come out, but certainly that they have been, from what I heard, quite vocal in the last few weeks leading up to this. Apparently the governor has had, I believe it was around 13 people been sentenced to death on death row during his tenure as governor, and he has never once pardoned anyone.
No.
And obviously this one particularly egregious in the sense that, they had new evidence, and that Marcellus's family apparently saying, like, look, worst comes to worst, put him in prison for life.
Yeah,
but don't execute him like this. Well, it's a complete miscarriage of justice.
I was going to say this gets to my problem with the death penalty. I have several problems with the death penalty fundamentally, but the one that I've been thinking about this week is the fact that if someone is on death, if someone is in prison for life, if eventually you find the right amount of the right kinds of evidence, the right amount of evidence to prove that person is innocent, you cannot give them back the years that you had them locked up, but at the very least you can go, we let you out, you get to live the rest of your years not in prison. The death penalty is incredibly fucking final, and no matter how long the process of waiting for a death date is, there is no guarantee you won't find some piece of evidence like 2 weeks after the execution that goes, oh fuck, that one was innocent. And like that kind of finality, and when paired with the fact that the police famously love to bully conviction admissions of guilt out of people who have not done crimes, police procedures over the years that have encouraged getting false confessions out of people.
The way the police manipulate people with mental health problems.
I was thinking about one of these the other day, and this is not necessarily directly connected to the death penalty, but it was the case of a man who had a mental health condition. His dad went out to walk the dog and just didn't come back for like 3 days, and he calls the police. He's like, my dad's missing, I'm concerned. And they berate this mentally ill man in prison, being in a holding cell, being like, we found your dad, he's dead, your fingerprints are all over him, you killed him. All the while, at this point, the police have found the dad alive. They know the dad is alive. They still continue to, knowing the dad was alive, push this man in a mental health crisis to the point of admitting to a murder he didn't do. And like, when shit like that demonstrably happens in the system, the idea of the death penalty, for no other reason, like, it should appall people, the idea of a death penalty in a system that, we may find out later some bullshit went down that led to that person being here.
Yeah, and given the way the police handle themselves over there, especially, a random, traffic stop should not be, a death penalty. Having a tail light out should not be a death penalty. Robbing a liquor store should not be a death penalty.
Yeah.
Carried out at the side of the fucking road by police.
Yeah.
ACAB once again,
ACAB indeed.
the whole fucking prison industrial complex is absolutely disgusting, and
a system that is not designed for rehabilitation and for making society better, but that is made to punish and be, punishment theatre is not a system that is making the world better in a practical way.
Yeah, a threat of violence to everyone else. In fact, just this could be you next.
Indeed, is that insert that Brennan Lee Mulligan ramble he does about laws being rules made by the dominant socio-economic group threatening violence at a later date, etc., etc.
Oh, fancy on me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Good on, mate. Good on. Right, I think I'm going to have a little lie down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Laura,
Yes.
you do things on the internet.
Yeah.
Where those things be?
You can find the things I do on the internet at Laura K. Buzz pretty much everywhere. Laura K. Buzz on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Patreon, that's the one that pays the bills, Blue Sky, Mastodon, all the things find me at Laura K. Buzz. This week there will be another Control-Alt-Access episode that'll be up. You can check out other bits I will have done, Pogquisition. I'll be streaming Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays at 10pm UK, 5pm Eastern, 2pm Pacific. I'll be streaming Echoes of Wisdom. I'm aiming to do a full playthrough of that on stream over the next few weeks, between now and, mid-October, so that'll be fun. Yeah, that's some stuff I'm up to. What about you?
Me? Well, I don't have unified branding, but I do have a link tree. It's linktree.ee/Janiac, Janiac. You can find things I have written and drawn, and t-shirts I've designed, music I've made, all that good stuff. And you can help support me at patreon.com/stonedmonkeyradio. For as little as $1 a month, you can help me get all these things edited and do all the streaming and all the other good stuff. That's it for me. Laura,
Yes?
would you sing us out, please, darling?
Until next time, be a stranger.
Get the switch.
I'm on it.